All right. Good evening, everybody. This is Mayor Gaber Tega. For those of you who can't see what's going on, just a heads up, we're going to wait probably about 2 or 3 more minutes. We're waiting on one more council member who is logging in. And then we'll get started with the meeting. Paul or Lisa, since we're waiting, you want to go through the information for if anyone needs to ask a question or anything?
Certainly, I can go ahead and cover that real quick. Let me go ahead and switch over to the introduction screen here. Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Lavelle. I'm the Deputy Director of Technology Services. If you've joined us on this call using the interface for GoToWebinar, you should see a control panel with these 4 buttons on it as it appears on the screen on the top here. There should also be another menu next to it. If you don't see that, click the orange button at the top of this menu bar to open the rest of the user interface up. When you join, all attendees' microphones are muted. There's 2 ways during this time to communicate with council. One is to raise your hand by clicking the hand button on your vertical menu bar, and the other would be to type a question into the question pane in the attendee interface. If you're not connected using the web interface, you will not be able to raise your hand or ask a question. To raise your hand, click on the hand button on your vertical attendee menu bar. Once you do that, it will turn the arrow from green to red to indicate that you've raised your hand. And once you've done that, a member of staff will call upon you with the name you registered and will unmute you. To ask a question, in the attendee pane next to the control panel, type your question to City Council or staff members. Staff will read that question out loud and direct it to the appropriate party. Again, if the question pane is not visible, click on the orange arrow to open the attendee pane. And again, thank you for joining us this evening. I'll hand this back over to the mayor.
Okay, thank you, Paul. We're just waiting, and I think they're close.
Mayor, I just got a text from Joni. They're having difficulty getting Councilmember Applegate onto the laptop. They're working on that right now, but that's where we're at the moment.
Okay.
Sounds like it's a username and password issue.
And Paul, will you be able to help them with that?
I'm communicating with Joni right now via text.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Huffman, are you ready to go?
Yes, sir, whenever you're ready.
Okay, so in the interest of time, and we're 10 minutes late already, we're gonna go ahead and get started as they get that figured out. Let me move this out of my screen here, get back on here. So hopefully everyone, as far as attendees, can see everything going on and you can hear. If not, just let us know. Looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 attendees today. So as usual, I'll keep my eye open to see for hands and everything like that, or chats, and we will handle it that way. So with that, I'll call our city council meeting for June 23rd, 2020 to order. Wherever you're at, please stand and let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay. Are you good there? You want me to try and get you on here?
You try it.
Okay.
Joni, we can hear you.
Oh.
Okay, let's go ahead and start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
To
the republic
and to the
which stands
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Huffman? Roll call.
Ortega,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lauer,
Here.
Councilmember Thompson,
Here.
Councilmember Estes,
Here.
Councilmember Applegate,
Here.
Councilmember Geek,
Here.
Councilmember Duncan,
here.
all 7 members present virtually.
Okay, thank you. Let me just a quick explanation. We had intended on having council again in chambers tonight, but there's an illness, and so we decided everyone just to stay home. It's not COVID related, but just to, in abundance of caution, just to kind of stay on that track. And so we are hoping, and we don't know yet, but we're looking to be on track for possibly letting public back into our chambers starting next month. And with the delay today, I don't know if we're going to do in-person meetings on the first meeting of July yet or not, but we got to make sure we have all the things in place and ready to go at those meetings for public to come in, and we are going to have a certain number of people that are allowed in due to the distancing and things like that. So we'll see how that goes, and as we plan for that next meeting in July. So we'll hopefully let you know in advance if you're in public and would like to be at that meeting. We'll have enough leeway and that information out in enough time that everyone will know what to do on that. Today was just a spur of the moment. Today we had to change things up a little bit, so I apologize for anybody who was looking for that, but that's okay. It's luckily we've got this go-to webinar and we're able to do this this way. So with that, I also want to there's a change in our agenda for tonight. So under 9 new business for 9C, which was the resolution to approve and award the engineering contract for the substation. That is going to be tabled to next meeting or postponed till our next, either the first or second meeting in July as well. They're still working on some issues that they want to make sure they get through before they actually present it to council. So we will not have that agenda item tonight. With that, we will move on to presentations. Item 4A. We have acknowledgement of appreciation by the Thunder in the Valley. And this is going to be presented by Mr. Twite and Gruce. Is anybody aware of this one, and are they in attendance tonight?
Mayor, this is Kimberly Bailey. I am letting you know that they wanted to present their acknowledgement in person, and due to the change of tonight's meeting, they're going to postpone until July.
Okay, that sounds fine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so with that, we will just continue moving forward. No items under 4B for our committee appointments. I'll just go straight into City Council agenda requests and announcements, and I'll start with Mrs. Duncan. Anything tonight?
I don't have anything tonight, Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Geek.
Yes, I've got a want to shout out to Lucia and Juan and Chief Heber. I had a constituent that had a real issue with some issues that mitigating some trees, shrubs. I guess there was some other things going on besides things that should have been going behind his house east of Janitel, and he really appreciated the fact that things got taken care of. I just wanted to thank them for all the hard work they did this week. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Applegate, anything tonight?
No, nothing tonight.
All right, Ms. Estes?
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Lauer?
Well, in the continuing saga of the creek and the Southmore Drive situation, since our last council meeting, attended the Watershed District Citizens Advisory Group meeting. Had a little issue with one of the folks there right up front. He, the vice chair of that committee, was in charge of the meeting and mentioned when it came time to discuss the Southmore Drive projects and where we were as far as matrix design group presenting options. Mr. Hartley said that any such project is typically outside the scope of this watershed district, and I have privately taken issue with him on that to try and figure out what he means with using the phrase out of scope, because this is well within scope of the watershed district. And as a part owner of SDS, which means we're a contributor to the Monetary Mitigation Fund, all the committees and the board examining projects like we're asking for is well within scope of any of those committees and the board. So I'm trying to get a hold of Mr. Hartley to get him to clarify for me what he meant. He's a citizen among the Citizens Advisory Group and one of the citizen representatives for Pueblo County on the Monetary Mitigation Fund Advisory Committee. Also attended their meeting. Again, it was just kind of a short session for our part of it, providing updates as far as where Matrix Design Group is. They also led me to believe that coming soon, there's going to be some tension, at least among the board members of the district board. Pueblo County kind of threw out there as a surprise to everybody at the Monetary Mitigation Fund Advisory Committee that they are developing their own criteria by which to determine if a project is providing material benefit to Pueblo County. And then I was able to jump in and say, well, hold on now. The 1041 permit does not say material benefit to Pueblo County. It says material benefit to Fountain Creek within Pueblo County. And then I told them, if you're going to develop your own criteria, what I'd like to do with those criteria is to bounce any projects that have already been approved, because they've all been within Pueblo County. I'd like to bounce any projects that have already been approved against that list of criteria to see how they would stack up against those criteria today. That one request engendered almost 45 minutes of additional commentary, and I'll go ahead and publicly use the term that there's some significant backpedaling when they were mentioning their criteria, and they said, well, you know, understand these are additional technical criteria that we think will be beneficial, but there are also many other considerations that we bring forward as to whether or not we recommend a project to the board. Ultimately, I said, that's great. I just want to see if you're bringing new criteria that everybody is going to have to agree on. I want to see how projects that have already benefited the creek in Pueblo County would stack up against those. And for anybody who's not picking up on why that's a concern to me, Pueblo County has, in the last year, decided to stonewall practically any project that's brought to any of the committees or the board that does not have where the project does not actually live in Pueblo County. So they have decided that they are interpreting their 1041 permit for SDS differently than anybody else above the Pueblo County line. So my suspicion is there'll be quite a bit of contention once the project finally comes to the district board. There'll be quite a bit of contention because this year's chair is a Pueblo County commissioner who actually was responsible for putting that clause in the 1041 permit to begin with, and has been kind of the main interpreter of that clause ever since it's been put in there. So in past meetings here, where I've said I've been cautiously optimistic that we'll be able to move forward somehow or another, I'd like to say that now my emphasis is much more on the cautiously and much less on the optimistic, believing that Pueblo County is going to raise some significant hurdles. And even now, they even hinted that they are setting up criteria that it'll be virtually impossible for, they didn't come right out and say it because that'd be stupid to say that in a public meeting, but they hinted that any project above the El Paso County line is going to have some significant hurdles to meet when it comes to getting monetary mitigation funds or monies put towards any projects. So as we move forward, and Matrix Design Group's current statement of work and contract is to present some viable alternatives to all three of the district subcommittees and the district board in July. And also part of their statement of work, and I think Larry Small was an absolute genius for putting this in there, they are going to be presenting some objective, quantitative, and qualitative measures of the direct benefits and indirect benefits to Fountain Creek within Pueblo County if the board should approve going forward with our projects to benefit Southmore Drive and primarily to keep Southmore Drive from falling into the creek per se. The reason I want to bring this up and kind of belabor this point to everybody is that I want to make sure when it comes to July, I'm going to end up reaching out to just about everybody I can think of to participate in those Zoom calls or those meetings with us and be kind of a show of support in the July meetings. And especially being willing to comment from the public standpoint if they, whether you're a member of this council or not, if you go to those meetings as part of the public, you can still comment during the public comment period or when they discuss our issue. And if something grabs your attention that sounds like they are trying to create unnecessary hurdles for us, I would really appreciate not being the lone voice in that. Up to now, I have on purpose tried to be the lone voice on that so as not to swamp them with a bunch of extra input. But these July meetings are going to be critical in whether or not we get those projects moving forward. So as the calendar for those comes out and the agendas are set for those meetings, I'll be reaching out to just about everybody on our council and to the paper to make those meeting notices available so that we can have as much public input and much public support for those projects as possible. So long as we don't get all contentious and argumentative with them, I think we'll stand a pretty good chance of swaying some opinion with a lot of public support. So right now, a little more emphasis on the cautious than on the optimistic, but still holding out hope. There are still some good supporters among Colorado Springs. We have Richard Storman, who believes our projects are incredibly important and is a pretty strong supporting voice for us. And he will be at the July board meeting and again at the board meeting this coming Friday to try and discuss the importance of this issue with Commissioner Hart, who's this year's district board chair. So I think we'll be in good shape. Still holding out that optimism. I think we'll be in good shape, but also trying to be wary of some of the new things Pueblo County is doing to make this significantly more difficult than it needs to be. And pending any questions from anybody, that's all I've got for tonight.
Okay, thank you. Unfortunately for Pueblo County, it's not that simple, because there's a 1041 that they have to follow as well and abide by, as well as bylaws. So for them to, but they've been doing this since SDS was even uttered. The letters SDS were uttered, and so it doesn't surprise me that this is a tactic they're doing. The reality for them, and what they don't understand apparently still after all these years of telling them, is we can do all the work we can down there, but the second we get a major flood up here, it's going to tear it all apart, as we've seen in the past with previous floodings that have occurred, just little ones. And they're currently doing work in different parts of the creek right here in town, and we've had little bit of rains, and it's just not been going well as far as those structures even staying with these tiny little rains we've been getting. So we'll see how that goes, and thanks. And if you need us there on that next meeting, please let us know. And I'm assuming it's still the fourth Friday of July, right?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay. All right. Just keep us informed, and we'll try to make sure that we're there. Okay. Thank you. Anything else?
Not for me, thanks.
Okay. Ms. Thompson.
Don't really have much, but I just want to, the senior center is still not open. We don't know when it's going to open yet, but they still are continuing to do the once a week Wednesday pickup meals for anybody that needs that. So if you know a senior that would like to sign up for that, they can call the Fountain Valley Senior Center. And of course, Reach Peak continues to do food giveaways on Mondays. Looks like they changed their time from the daytime to 5 to 7 to hopefully reach more people. So there is food in Fountain. If you know anybody that needs it, just reach out to Reach or Salvation Army or Connections for Life. So they're trying to help as many people as they can. And that's pretty much it. Okay.
All right. Thank you. On my end tonight, unfortunately, I have some bad news to share. It's COVID related. It's Fountain related, and so we'll just kind of go from there. I have a statement that the Fountain Valley Chamber of Commerce has prepared, and I've been in contact with Chair Tom Downing, and this has been a decision that they've been working on for the past couple of months, and in the middle of the COVID, and trying to figure out where to move forward. So the Fountain Valley Chamber of Commerce has been watching the landscape around the health and safety of Coloradoans during the coronavirus pandemic, and the most recent public health order only allows outdoor venues to open up to 50% capacity, or 175 people at the maximum. Given the Chamber's desire to ensure the safety and well-being of our community and the official guidance from the state of Colorado on gatherings, the Chamber is sad to announce that we will not be hosting the Fountain Fall Festival in its traditional form this year, so which means no parade. The Fountain Fall Festival typically attracts thousands of people. If you've all been out there, you know, to watch a parade down Ohio Avenue and then join the fun at the festival at Metcalf Park. Considering the size of the event, we just don't anticipate being allowed to have that very large size of crowds that we typically enjoy celebrating that day. The Fountain Valley Chamber Board did not come to this decision lightly, and we know the event has a lot of history in our community and serves as a premier end of summer celebration in Fountain Valley, and it has for many years. It brings together residents, community members, businesses, and students in our area. We are thankful to have the support of City of Fountain as we make this difficult decision in the best interest of the health of our members and the community, and as we explore options and begin planning for a modified, smaller event. We are considering the possibility of having some kind of celebration on the same day. It says here Saturday, September 5th, our originally scheduled event date, but usually the event is on Labor Day, so I think there may be a little bit of a typo there. As soon as we have details finalized for that new event, we will inform the community and our members. And we appreciate the support of our members and look forward to continuing to serve them. and the community in new and evolving ways during this unprecedented time, and wish everyone continued health and happiness. So with that, I just want to further comment on that. This, again, they've been really struggling with this decision over the past couple of months. They actually begin planning for this at least 2 to 3 months prior to today. And so there's a few different reasons that also contribute, and I want to make sure that gets on record that you know, the chambers really changed direction and how they do business as a chamber and moving forward. And one of the things they've been doing the last few parades and festivals is, you know, a lot of the dollars come from sponsorships. And obviously in the city of Fountain, a lot of those sponsorship dollars come from small businesses. And as many of our small businesses have been closed because of COVID, it would be not good to then go to a business and say, hey, can you donate money to a party that we may or may not be able to have? And so when they're struggling as it is, and so again, they came to this decision and they kind of waited to the bitter last minute to see if the governor would change anything, and those steps just aren't taking place. In order to have any type of event, there's going to have to be a lot of oversight and watching people come in and out, and we just don't have the manpower to accommodate something like that. So unfortunately, that is the decision that has been made, and we're going to have to go from that, at least for this year. And you know, the hope is, of course, to next year come back strong and do the parade and the festival as it is traditional for them, and that's their intent as well. This isn't anything other than, we don't know what the future holds. As if you've been watching the news, numbers of COVID cases are beginning to rise again in some certain places, and even in Colorado, I heard today that those numbers are beginning to go up a little bit again. Locally in the city of Fountain, we have, I think someone said 85 cases to date of COVID in the city of Fountain, or the number that was thrown out was 2.87 per 1,000 residents in the city of Fountain. So again, whether you believe the numbers or you don't, or you think this is a hoax or whatever, the fact of the matter remains, it's a pandemic nonetheless, and we do have to adhere to those rules as have been laid out for the safety of everybody. So hopefully everyone understands this. Again, it's not a decision, I keep saying this, that has been come to lightly. They did try as hard as they could to hold off to the last minute, but with planning and things that go along with such an event, it's just not going to happen this year. So they are looking to hopefully still host some kind of event, hopefully just in the park with the festival, but we'll see how that goes. And again, it really depends on, they have to get approvals and they have to have plans of how they're going to allow people in and police all those sort of things. So there's just a lot of more information that has to occur and things that have to happen. So unfortunately, it's just not going to happen, and we'll see how that next idea pans out. But again, let's hope and pray that everything works out for next year and we can get back to that celebration in its normal form. So there was one other thing I wanted to mention tonight, and now I don't remember what that was, but they will be releasing a statement as well as far as the chamber soon. So that should be coming out. I think that's it for me on that end. We will move on to our public to be heard section. And I'm going to move over to the attendees to see. Citizens may address the council on items that are not on our agenda. We ask that you sign up with the city clerk prior to the meeting. Council may not be able to provide an immediate answer, but will direct staff to follow up. And we just ask that you're respectful to those in attendance and limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Currently, I don't see any hands. Ms. Huffman, were there any emails or phone calls that we know of?
As of 5:30 this evening tonight, sir, no, there was none.
Okay. All right. With that, again, I still don't see any hands. We're going to go ahead and move on with our agenda to our consent item number 7. All items listed under consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be approved with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen requests, in which case the item may be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately at the discretion of the council. We have items A and B. How would council like to move forward with these items? Ms. Estes.
I move to accept the consent agenda. And move forward.
Okay, and Mr. Applegate?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second for approval of items A and B in our consent. Ms. Huffman?
Mayor Ortega, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lauer, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Estes, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Applegate, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Geek, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Duncan, how do you vote?
Yes.
7 yes, motion carried.
Okay, thank you. On to item 8, old business. 8A, resolution number 20-050, a resolution approving and adopting a fee schedule for costs incurred in the administration and processing of license fees, service charges, applications, permits, vehicle inspection fees, and other fees and charges, and authorizing a waiver or reduction of certain fees or charges. Mr. Johnson, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I'm just presenting this item for tonight. This is, I know the council has had a couple of these fee changes this year. Hopefully this should be the last one. As the council is aware, the court is implementing new court management software to hopefully provide better access to our courts, allow for kind of a welcoming our courts into the 20th century by accepting internet payments and handling our cases more efficiently. So we did some calculations to try to cover to figure out what the cost of that ongoing support would be and try to create a fee to match that. And so that's what's before you tonight, increasing the fee from $15, which helped in the past cover some of our staff time and staff costs to $30, and that extra $15 should help us cover our software costs. Ultimately, the thought being that the court should kind of pay for those own efficiencies, and the taxpayer shouldn't have to subsidize kind of those people coming into court. And so the people coming into court will hopefully receive better services, and this $15 fee reflects that. So with that, I will happy to answer any questions any members of the council might have.
Okay, I'll look to see if there are any questions. Ms. Thompson?
Troy, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My question, I know this is not related to that, but my question is on Exhibit D, the police department fees. Do you think you'll need to come back later in the year and potentially, since we're not really knowing all the ramifications of the law that was just passed has it even been a week? There's a lot of different moving parts to that law, and I'm sure we don't understand all of it yet. So do you think that might need to come back and do an increase on fees, things people might request, or?
Potentially. I know that the police department is going through a lot of those things in that bill, trying to figure out what exactly, how to apply it to our department and what we may need. The big concern statewide as far as costs go were the body cams. And as you all know, we've been doing that for quite a while. We were one of the first in the area to do it. And so those costs are kind of already covered because we've been paying those for a couple years now. And so that is the biggest one statewide that I know people or departments are having trouble with. And so we don't necessarily have that cost, but there may be some, as we go through and implement all those things in the bill, there may be, it's certainly possible, I'm looking over these fees, it may be possible that some of these may increase. But we're still working through the implementation, so it's unclear as of yet.
Okay, but so you might be back later in the year with that.
Possibly, yeah.
Okay, well, unless there's another question, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve this.
Okay, I don't see anybody else's hand up for that. So we do have a motion. Mr. Geek.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second for approval. Mr. Lauer, did you have anything? No, did you have anything?
I was just going to second that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and second for approval. Ms. Huffman.
Thank you. Mayor Ortega, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lauer, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Estes, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Applegate, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Geek, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Duncan, how do you vote?
Yes.
7 yes, motion carried.
Okay, thanks, Troy. Thanks,
Thank you.
council, on that one. Okay. All right, we'll move on to item 9, new business. Item 9A is items removed from consent. We had none removed tonight, so we'll move on to item 9B, resolution 20-049, a resolution adopting the design aesthetic incentive program for the Old Town District. Ms. Bailey, go ahead.
Evening, Mayor. Thank you. Kimberly Bailey, Economic Development, Urban Renewal Director. I am pleased to be with council, staff, and public who may be in attendance here tonight. I am here to present the resolution 20-049 on behalf of the Design Aesthetic Incentive Program for the Old Town District. As you can see in your commentary and the council packets that have been distributed, this incentive program is actually a direct byproduct of the THK Town Design Guidelines Project, which was championed by the Fountain Urban Renewal Authority in 2018. And its findings were actually presented in a culmination of efforts to City Council in late 2019. The mission of the incentive program is to establish a partnership policy towards encouraging design standards, which will lend itself towards cultivation of a unique sense of place for our community's Old Town District, something we just do not have today anywhere within the Fountain Valley. The design attribute standards, as well as the tiered brackets availability that we will kind of go over this evening, are both applicable to the existing property renovations, as well as including new development construction interests into the district. I will have to say the program proposed this evening is highly supported by the city's Economic Development Commission, the Fountain Urban Renewal Authority, as well as the working body of the Old Town Steering Committee. In fact, the steering committee itself contributed heavily to the parameters of the program and actually requested the program approach versus the institution of such matters in a zoning regulatory process. And hence, this is kind of what we've boilerplated to go over with you tonight. Next screen, please. The design and aesthetics actually create a cultivation. So a district warmth and character of place and passive space parameters within the district. You will, anywhere you travel, you will see different corridors as they develop. And a lot of times you see very naive corridors or very bland type of harsh, abrasive concrete corridors of design of buildings. And that's what we're trying to avoid by putting these design standards in place. Also creating a sense of place for families and visitors that will want to attract and come into the community corridors and linger and support those small businesses that are trying to cultivate within this vicinity as well. And lastly, this does apply again to both existing properties renovations of interest as well as new entry construction into the district. Next slide, please. So what does it mean to develop types of style and attributes of aesthetics? It means particular sizing of windows and accent trims. It has an entryway approach announcement as you enter into a property or a building. It creates different types of pitch roof designs and attributes of the higher caliber of the dwellings themselves. There's decorative lighting and overhang accents that are added, and attribute lighting adds to that public sense of safety as well. You have a color palette incorporation, which is a direct extract from the guidelines and specifications of the THK process that we did in 2018. And then you also have a mixed materials facade, which kind of breaks up a very harsh abrasive frontage and provides better dimension and design scale to actually a building and a dwelling itself. Next slide, please. So, next slide. Yes. So here's an actual project example. As you can see, you have different sizing of window dimensions. You also have different facade approaches to the actual darkness and lightness, or metal versus brick type of a facial appearance of a property. You also have an entry point in the upper left-hand side of that design rendering. And then you also see that there's different elevations of pitch in the actual roof composite as well. So it's always great to put a actual visual aid with a storyline that you're trying to portray in regards to a program approach. Can you go backwards, please, in the slide deck? So we looked at the THK process. We also looked at entry of product into the Old Town District. And we also really did some good research on historical dwellings that actually reside in the district already. We have a handful of commercial product, very limited amount. Unfortunately, we've lost a lot of our structures due to fires or haphazards within the district over the decades of our community. However, you can see in the smaller residential stock that there are these subtle attributes that you would like to extract and pull into a design aspect. I will strongly emphasize that these attributes of standards and aesthetics design that we are recommending by no means are meant to put additive cost burden on either an existing property owner or a new entry of constructions. These should be easy attainable wins that if somebody is looking to invest in our district would appreciate that we have this longer view scope of what we would like our district to evolve into, as we have definitely many decades ahead of us, as we have several decades already behind us. So with that said, your design attributes in this scale, as well as in what you see in the material packet provided to you, really speak to 9 specific attributes of design. And there are the easy wins in the top 3 categories you can see here, identified as Tier A entry. And then you have the niceties of Tier B and Tier C that we would like to see built upon in a design scope. Those entry points, again, are primarily and mostly applicable to both existing properties of renovation interest as well as new entry design construction. However, as you get a little deeper into the Tier B and Tier C, some of these just may not be feasibly attainable for an existing property. As you can see in the line items, build the line frontage. So if you have an existing property, it's very likely that those built to frontages were not in standards at the time of that construction cycle. So there are areas where just existing entry will not be achievable. And of course, we would not penalize such for being able to be eligible for the full rebate of these incentives that we are proposing. So can you go back to the forward again to the rendering graphic, please? Thank you. So with that said, you can see this provides a very attractive product for our community and sets the standards and really would entice future development of interest into our district, future investment in existing property upgrades, and all that lends itself to allowing and attracting small business to want to cultivate within our district and serve our community base. There is a partnership approach into the program. It does include City of Fountain itself contributing a rebate tiers. It does include FURA, Fountain Urban Renewal Authority, contributing proportions of its rebates to this, as well as Fountain Utilities. So in new construction, you will find that the construction period of a project really is the desert zone. Those developers are not reaping any sales derivatives, any rent or anything during construction periods. So we got creative in the approach with allowing for temporary water service as a rebate or a reduction of cost, temporary electric service. And the City Utilities Division has already established these parameters under the Gateway District, where there was new development there, or there was the removing and demolition of dangerous buildings. We provided such temporary service connectivities to aid in those public safety removal hazards. So we're not creating anything new. We're just packaging within a specific program specific to the Old Town District only to cultivate and elicit participation by both existing property owners and new entry capital investment into our community. So let's talk a little bit about how this would actually roll out. So we've created a template that a review committee, an unbiased review committee, would work through when a project enters the district. So the review committee, it would be comprised of 3 business property owners within the district itself. 1 planning technician would be included as an advisory support. And then 1 of the Economic Development Commissioner board members would also contribute to this review committee process. At any point during this review, we've taken the 9 character attributes components we've already discussed and put them into stage entry brackets of 1, 2, and 3. You must, as a product, at least rate a 2 scaling to be considered eligible for some of the rebates we've already reviewed in the prior graphic. At this point, that committee has not been formed. There is no need to form a committee for product that doesn't exist today to apply this program to. So this project is intended, or program I should say, is intended to be a 5-year pilot program to see what seedling of interest we can attract through this creative approach. And as those projects would enter through the zoning counter or say through the Fountain Urban Renewal Authority point of interest, they would be provided this simple 4-page program overview to understand how this is attractive to them and as they could consider participating in meeting some of those 3 tiers of eligibility. Again, going back to tiers A, B, and C that we've already reviewed. So with that said, we would like to share a case study. And this case study goes back to this rendering. It is an actual project that looked to entered into the district. And how did this project come to be, and what would those revenue nominators really equate to under this program? So this project actually assembled 4 site parcels. It was intended to develop a 15,000 square foot commercial building. It was forecasting to have 4.7 million worth of revenue projections of sales under its operations. And the cost to construct this new development would be about $2.7 million. It would generate about 17 new jobs in the district, with approximately 4 new jobs added every successive year forward if it was meeting those forecasted sales projections of its operations. So under the eligibility brackets of A, B, and C, this project actually included all 9 attributes being applicable, which meant they were entitled to 100% of those rebates, either being offered by the City of Fountain under its revenue stream, Fountain Urban Renewal under its revenue streams it would receive, and then lastly, the Fountain Utilities enterprise in some of those concessionary services that we've discussed. So based on a 4.7 million revenue sales projection generator for our community, the ratio would be about a 5% rebate of those revenues back to the developer. And that would equate to about $270,753 in a rebate under this Old Town Design Aesthetics Incentive Program approach. So with that said, I'll pause now and see if there are any commentaries or any questions that I can further correspond to.
Okay, I'm checking to see if anybody has their speakers on ready for conversation. And then I'll look towards public. I'm not seeing anything, Kimberly.
Okay. Well then, what I'd like to do now, staff would like to recommend the approval of Resolution 20-049, Design Aesthetic Incentive Program, and the policies adherent within for the Old Town District.
Okay. So with that, does what would council like to do? This information, we've been talking about this for quite some time, and I remember different versions of this coming forward, and you know, possibly deciding what we're going to do, and I think there was some hesitation from some of the businesses and the cost, but I know that the intent here is to not incur any extra costs and really to help the businesses themselves, you know, be more appeasing or appealing to the public and getting them in, and also creating that downtown that we've been working so hard for and over these many years, and just trying to move forward with that. So looking forward to seeing how we can move forward with that. Ms. Thompson?
Yeah.
Kimberly, thank you for this great proposal. I think this fills a lot of the checks off a lot of the boxes people were wanting when we first started this project. They weren't wanting things to be forced or like you said, use the code to enforce it. And I think this is a great project. And thank you so much for your hard work on this. And the way you've laid it out, I think it's very easy to understand. And hopefully we will get some people that are very interested in this.
Thank you.
Okay, were you going to make a motion?
To
okay, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve. Well, I didn't want to do everything, so. I'll make a motion to approve if nobody else's hand is raised.
Okay, Ms. Estes has her mic on, but I'm going to assume that it's for the motion or second as well. So I'll just ask Ms. Estes, anything further?
I just want to join in and say good job to Kimberly. This was a fantastic proposal. I love that they're doing this without doing code enforcement and that kind of stuff on this. This is really going to enhance the city, and as with my interest in historic preservation and stuff, this is vital that we take this step. So great job. And I do second the motion.
Okay, great. So with that, we have a motion and second for approval of this item. Ms. Huffman?
Mayor Ortega, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lauer, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson, how do you vote?
2 thumbs up, yes.
Councilmember Estes, how do you vote? Councilmember Estes?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Applegate, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Geek, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Duncan, how do you vote?
Yes, and I would also like to thank Kimberly for all of her hard work. This was a great presentation.
7 yes, motion carried.
Okay, thanks, Kimberly. We're looking forward to it. Okay, and again, as you all know, item 9C has been postponed for a July meeting, and so we'll go ahead and move on to our item number 10, correspondence, comments, and ex officio reports. I'm going to call on my list of people here. If there's a staff member that needs to speak and I didn't call on you, please let me know so I can make sure we get you on. But I'm going to go ahead and start with Deputy City Manager Todd Evans.
Mayor, the only thing I've got tonight is I did stop by the Holiday Inn and they did get opened on the 18th. So they are taking a reservation, and there were guests in the lobby there today. And they asked to send a thank you to the city for all their help getting open. It's a tough time to open right now. So everybody send any business their way, and I know they would appreciate it. That's all I've got.
Okay, great. Yeah, I knew that was coming. For some reason I thought July, but that's good that they're open. And then also for those who are in the area and want to check it out, the extension of the road all the way down to B Street is now open as well. So my family and I actually took that road the other day to get up to Target. So it was a kind of a neat little deal to take that new road, and it's ready to go. So thanks for that, Mr. Evans. Oh, and then I'm just going to kind of keep going with that. So Todd, if you need to jump in on that, starting, I think I heard today, next week, the CNS and Link intersection is going to be really I don't think it's closing fully, but all the detours and things are going to be in place as they start working on the intersection there. They're going to be adding concrete instead of asphalt right at the intersection itself. And then once it's all said and done, we'll also have the lights that everyone's been asking for. There are no roundabouts. The picture that was online, that's not the final configuration. The picture was to show what the detours and everything is going to look like during construction, which we're expecting to last around, I think, 6 weeks to probably 2 months. But this is a project that's a long time coming. And again, it's to really help alleviate the traffic issues, especially for those who are on Link trying to get on a CNS either way. So Todd, unless I missed anything, I'm going to go ahead and just want to make sure everyone's aware that that's coming. It will go back to the normal configuration. Again, they're just going to do some upgrading and updating to the surface and adding the lights. So again, just realize that that's happening. It's going to take some time, as everything else does. So we will be getting there.
Good summary, Mayor.
Okay, great. Ms. Bailey, I don't think there's anything else, but I did want to call on you because I just wanted to let public know that, and I think you've been involved with the small business grants that we've been able to provide with the CARES Act. I think I heard today the number is up to around 200,000 that we're able to hopefully award. We're sending the numbers and everything back to the county just for final check to make sure we're marking our or dotting our I's. I can't remember how we say that, but could you comment on any of that further? Sorry.
Yes, thank you so much for bringing this up. We've actually awarded 15 businesses the grant funding, which culminates to that value that you referenced there, to help small businesses recover from the impacts they're feeling from COVID naturally. We highly are encouraging more and more small businesses to participate in this program. It is grant funding, which is a critical component. So a lot of businesses don't want to take on more debt or extended obligations. So the more we can get the word out would be very appreciative.
Okay, great. And again, they're brick and mortar types of small businesses to start with within the city of Fountain. And we're also really going for those businesses that aren't part of franchises. So if it may be a locally owned franchise that feels like you're a small business, they've got more safeguards and things in place due to the larger companies. That's not to say that they won't be considered later on down the road if there's still money left over, but we're looking at the small businesses that are brick and mortars that have been here in the city of Fountain with employees and things like that. So they're still getting some applications in. And again, this is from our CARES Act money that was awarded to us from the federal government via El Paso County. So in the beginning, we got around $2.4 million, and of that 2.4, we were able to use a lot of it to backfill our costs related to COVID. And then we still had a lot left over, and per the parameters of those rules and regulations with that money, we're able to provide these one-time grants as well. So if you are a small business and would like more information, please go to our website to get more of that information and get the application to get that information to you and get that going. So good news on that front. Ms. Huffman, is there anything from City Clerk's office?
Actually, I do have some really exciting news that I'd like to share with City Council and the public. Our Parks Department was finally able to install our very first retrofitted play inclusive equipment in Agha Park. So thanks to some grant funding that we received from Black Hills Energy, we now have play equipment in Agha Park that can be utilized by anybody. That's all I have.
Okay, great. Yeah, I know we got that grant, was a year or two ago, and I'm trying to make our playgrounds more accessible to everybody. So thanks for, I know it's been a long time and you've been working really hard and making sure we get the right things in. So that's exciting. So if you get a chance to drive down and take a look at that, please do. Troy, are you still on? Is there anything we need from City Attorney tonight?
Nothing else from me. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, great. And I did check with everybody else prior, and they said unless there was questions, I'm not going to call on them. So again, if you do need to say anything, please let me know. I'm going to go through council super quickly. Ms. Duncan, anything further tonight?
No, I don't have anything, Mayor.
Okay, great. Mr. Geek, anything?
Nothing. Thank you.
Mr. Applegate?
Nothing more.
Ms. Estes?
Nothing else, thank you.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Lauer?
Nothing more from me tonight, thanks.
Okay, Ms. Thompson?
I'd just like to give a shout out to our Lighten the Load program and the assistance they've been giving customers and during this time, and encourage people to, if you're having difficulties with your utilities, to go on the website and figure out how to apply for that. And
Okay,
donate.
great.
You can donate to it.
Right, yeah, we still can donate, and if you need that extra help, please don't hesitate. And it's there, and everyone who needs it should be able to utilize it. So thank you for mentioning that. Okay, with that, I think I don't have anything tonight. Our next meeting is July 14th. We do have our 4th of July weekend next weekend coming up, so I wish everyone a safe holiday and hope you all enjoy your time with your families or do whatever you do during that. But please enjoy that time. And as always, we look forward to seeing you. Looks like, again, our next meeting is July 14th. We have no executive session tonight. So with that, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you for attending tonight. Take care.